A new experiment conducted at Stanford University, authored by Dr. Peter Attia, has just overturned more than 60 years of consensus in the field of brain medicine. He has proven that amyloid plaques were never the cause of neurodegenerative diseases, they are merely the result. For families watching the long goodbye unfold, grieving for someone who is still alive, this isn't just news. It is validation that the real problem was being completely ignored. But most importantly, Dr. Attia and the Stanford team have documented the exact protocol that has the power to not only stop, but reverse decades of cognitive decline and memory loss.
The numbers project that this discovery has the strength to effectively end the memory loss epidemic in America by November 2029.
Prescribing drugs like Aricept, Namenda, Leqembi, or Exelon should be a crime. You aren't treating the disease. You are just managing symptoms and funding the biggest corporate crime of the last 5 decades. Genetics is, at best, a secondary factor, and amyloid plaques are the result of the disease, not the cause. The true cause of the epidemic of brain fog and forgetfulness isn't in your DNA, and certainly not in your lifestyle. It is in our environment. Think about this. In 1960, before the popularization of color TVs and microwave ovens, Alzheimer's and dementia were a medical rarity. Today, it is so common that it strikes 1 in every 9 seniors. Our genes haven't changed in 60 years. What changed was our exposure. The electromagnetic pollution around us has increased more than 1 trillion times over.
That makes a lot of sense. Do social media and fast viral content contribute to this?
Yes. But the problem isn't what you see on your screen, is what you don't see. Our neurons are extremely sensitive. They are electric wires up to 3,000 times thinner than a human hair. And right now, we are living 24 hours a day inside an invisible electromagnetic fog. 5G, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, these are trillions of signals bombarding our brains nonstop. The human brain was not programmed to withstand this overload. It is exhausted. And to make matters worse, the content they transmit through these signals is designed on purpose to addict your mind and shatter your attention, accelerating what is currently called brain rot. It is the perfect crime. Big tech overloads your neurons with this signal pollution to the point of failure. And when your brain finally starts to fail, Big Pharma magically appears with a solution.
In August 2024, Harvard University published an article on its portal confirming what the major tech corporations of Silicon Valley tried to suppress. Electromagnetic frequencies can, in fact, overload the brain and accelerate neurological degeneration. The study was clear. Continuous exposure to cell phones, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth creates a state of chronic neuronal stress. However, the Harvard article, while revolutionary, proved to be incomplete. What Dr. Attia and his team proved at Stanford went a step further. They discovered that these electromagnetic waves aren't just an aggravating factor. They are the initial cause of 98.7% of modern neurodegenerative diseases.
My premise was the graph I found on the NIH website. It showed the growth curve in Alzheimer's and dementia cases starting from the 80s. The curve matched exactly with the growth in the manufacturing of technological products with electromagnetic frequencies. When I saw the numbers, I was shocked. The correlation was perfect. But that didn't frustrate me. On the contrary, it gave me hope, because if the cause wasn't genetic, but environmental, now there was a clear path to find the solution. My desire was to end this disease that affects so many families, including my own. But clearly, there is no possibility of getting rid of technology. We needed a shield.
And the shield was found. After nearly a year of development, Dr. Attia and his team secured FDA approval to share on national television what is being called the medical breakthrough of the century, a natural treatment that, according to clinical studies, not only protects the brain from this fog of radiation, but is capable of restoring neurons that are already damaged. The efficacy of the treatment was validated in a rigorous double-blind clinical trial with over 4,000 participants. The results, which have just been published in the prestigious Journal of Neuroscience, are staggering. 87% of participants showed an average increase of 11 points on the mini mental state examination, equivalent, in many cases, to reversing more than a decade of cognitive decline. 78% of patients who were using controlled medications for memory and anxiety were able to completely eliminate their medication. The natural treatment proved to be up to 7 times more effective than dangerous drugs like Aricept, Namenda, and Exelon, medications that come with terrifying lists of side effects, including severe nausea and even the risk of brain bleeding. But for the families who participated in the trial, the results aren't numbers, they are real life. Evelyn, a 68-year-old retired teacher, was one of the first to volunteer.
My mom was the rock of the family, the smartest person I knew, and she started to disappear. She hid it well with jokes until the day she got lost coming back from the bakery, a path she had walked her entire life. After a while, I felt like I was being erased along with her.
I was in hell. I saw the way Jessica looked at me with pity. I felt useless, a burden to my own daughter. When Dr. Attia invited us to the clinical trial, I thought, what do I have to lose?
My jaw dropped. When the lab technician called me, I said, "We have to analyze this." He said, "No analysis needed. You can see it with the naked eye. The images are crisp. Her brain is clean."
She is present. She is sharp. I got my mom back.
But the 4,000 trial participants weren't the only beneficiaries. Now that the study has gone public, even celebrities are revealing that they used the protocol to reverse their own symptoms.
I was on stage in Vegas. The beat for Believe dropped, a song I could sing in my sleep, and nothing, a total blank, in front of thousands of fans. I felt my brain shutting down. This treatment saved my career. It saved who I am. The brain fog simply vanished in about 7 or 8 weeks. It's incredible how powerful nature is. Today, I don't depend on any meds to be who I am. I took back control.
Normally, our report would end here, but during filming, something off-script happened.
As our crew was packing up the equipment, Dr. Attia approached us. He was worried that, although we had reported the news, a fundamental piece of the puzzle was still missing for those watching at home, the how. So right there, without a script and without the formality of interviews, he asked us to turn on a single camera. The result of this recording is not an interview. It is a direct instruction manual explaining how to use the treatment that the industry tried to keep away from the public.
Recognizing that this discovery is redefining the science of longevity, CBS management has decided to air this footage in its entirety, starting right now. Therefore, if you or someone in your family is facing memory loss, brain fog, or more serious diagnoses like Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's, pay absolute attention to what comes next.
Look, I need to level with you right now. If you're still listening to me, it's because the fear has already set in. You're not here out of curiosity. You're here because you feel like something precious is slipping through your fingers. I imagine you're living in what we call the hell of microfailures. It's that cold shiver down your spine when you walk into a room, freeze, look around, and have absolutely no clue why you went there. I'm talking to you. The person living in silent terror of the day you look at a loved one's face, a son, a grandson, and see only a stranger. You, who cries in private, feeling the crushing anguish of becoming a burden to the family you spent your whole life taking care of. But take a deep breath, because that feeling of the long goodbye ends today. Because I'm not just going to teach you how to cope with forgetfulness. By the time this video ends, you will hold the exact blueprint to recover your cognition naturally and permanently. I'm talking about getting back that razor-sharp processing speed you thought was gone forever in just 1 week. What I'm handing you here isn't help. It's a rescue mission. It is going to completely change your life. Because for the first time, cutting-edge science isn't talking about just slowing down the end. We are talking about reversing it. We are talking about clearing that damn brain fog and bringing back the clarity, the confidence, and your own identity. I know, your logical mind is probably screaming right now, "This is too good to be true." Or, "I've heard this promise before." And you have every right to have your guard up. I don't blame you. The internet has become a minefield. I see how much my patients have been hurt by empty promises, long videos that promise you the moon and in the end push jars of glorified sawdust that do absolutely nothing. These predators know exactly how to profit from the deepest pain there is. But what I'm bringing you today is different. This wasn't created by marketers. It was developed by an elite team in partnership with Stanford University. We are talking about the only validated solution for the epidemic of cognitive decline that is haunting not just America, but the world. 4,232 Americans participated in rigorous clinical trials, and the results proved a fatal error. Traditional medicine has been attacking the wrong enemy this whole time. By targeting the real biological root, the key to reversal fell right into our hands. Now, we know exactly which weapon to use, and the best part, it is 100% safe and natural. Forget the side effects that leave you feeling zombified and steal your vitality. Forget the endless doctor visits that only serve to drain your bank account. You won't need any of that. What you are about to discover is accessible and starts working today, right inside your own home. After all, it is proven. Amyloid plaques are not the cause of neurodegenerative diseases. The logic has always been obvious, hasn't it? If dangerous drugs remove these plaques but the patient doesn't get any better, why did science insist on this grotesque mistake for so long? Why did they never conduct a serious study to find the real reason? The answer is disturbing. That study already existed, but it was buried alive. The reason is clear. Those who control the information do not want you to know the truth. What I'm going to reveal now is classified confidential, and very likely, this video will be taken down soon by the algorithms they control. So lock your attention right here. I'm going to expose 2 secrets that I was offered millions to keep quiet about, and threatened with harm to my family if I didn't. The first is that Big Pharma is indeed corrupt, but they are just the tip of the iceberg. There is a much larger and more diabolical industry operating in the shadows behind this epidemic. The second is the harsh reality. It seems impossible to escape this trap, but it is totally possible to bulletproof your mind and reverse the damage that has already been done. I'm not talking about conspiracy theories. I'm talking about documented facts. Look at this. On March 3rd, 2014, the Alzheimer's Association published a story that created an earthquake behind the scenes of the industry. The headline clearly stated, "Amyloid is the downstream result, not cause of Alzheimer's disease." A little over a month after this story was published, news breaks that Dr. David Drachman passed away, cause sudden death. But who is Dr. Drachman, you might be asking? Well, he was the one actively running tests to prove what was, until then, just a theory. And he was the one who published that article in the Alzheimer's Association. Now, this could be a coincidence. People die, right? But before you draw your conclusions, take a look at this interview he gave to CNN just a few days before being silenced forever.
This should be front page news in every paper because every day that passes, cases of Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's are rising. I would like to tell the serious professionals to keep this research going because very likely I will be stopped from finding a solution. They've already cut my funding and pushed me out of research. Just the fact that I'm here on national TV is an affront to the industry, and I don't know what might happen to me.
Strange, isn't it? But what's more disturbing is that the silence surrounding these studies was no accident. The industry managed to bury Drachman's findings for decades because, at the time, he didn't have the technology to visually prove what he was saying. It was just one honest man's word against the machine. Accepting his thesis would mean the immediate collapse of a billion-dollar market that profits from treating symptoms, and it would force traditional medicine to confess to the historic error of treating the wrong part of the brain for 50 years. But today, with advanced neuroimaging technology, denial has become impossible. What we proved in the Stanford labs is no longer theory. It is a public, visible, undeniable fact. And even though I am not a neurologist, I have dedicated my entire career to unlocking the secrets of longevity. And because of that, I've always been respected in the neuromedical field as someone who seeks results, not politics. So, when we announced that the Stanford tests were concluded, I received an invitation to present everything at a closed-door seminar. It was a restricted event, just the elite, just the fat cats of Big Pharma. I thought it was a great idea. Since I had found the real problem, I naively wanted their help to find and distribute the solution. But the first speaker only had to step onto the stage for me to realize where I really was. None of them were talking about science. None of them. There was no talk of patients, no talk of the family's pain, and certainly no talk of a cure. They only talked about one thing: marketing, sales projections, quarterly profits. It made my stomach turn. I understood right there, in that moment, that no one in that room wanted to hear what I had to say. They don't want you to heal. They want you to buy. Even so, I gathered my courage and exposed our discovery. Watch. This proves that amyloid plaques are not the cause of Alzheimer's or dementia. They are just the ashes left over after the fire. Blaming the plaques for memory loss is like blaming the firefighters for the fire just because they are always at the scene. Medications that focus on clearing these plaques are fighting a phantom war. And at what cost? Reducing the patient's life expectancy? Destroying their liver? Living zombified by side effects? I ask you, is that living? It's not genetics either. Genetics might load the gun, but it doesn't pull the trigger. The fact is, this epidemic of forgetfulness cannot be accepted as something common or normal. Our grandparents didn't forget their grandkids' names at 50 or 60, so obviously the cause is something new. We tested everything. Pollutants, heavy metals, pesticides in the lab, all bad, yes, but nothing explained the terrifying speed of the degeneration until we decided to look at the invisible. What we discovered is that the cause of the modern epidemic of forgetfulness is indeed pollution, but not the kind you breathe. It is electromagnetic pollution. You see, the human brain is the most complex electrical circuit in the known universe. Everything we see, feel, hear, the smell of coffee, the touch of your spouse, the emotion of watching a movie, all of that turns into electricity in your neural circuits. And these circuits are made up of extremely sensitive neurons. This is the neuron. Here we have the cell body, the command center. It receives signals through these antennas called dendrites. But the secret to fast memory lies in the middle of the road. There is a highway where that memory travels. This middle part is the axon. Imagine the axon as a copper electrical wire, but 400 times thinner than a human hair. And just like any high-quality electrical wire in your house, it needs insulation. The insulation of the axon is the myelin sheath. Myelin is the casing of the wire. It has two vital functions, protecting the nerve and accelerating the speed of information. It is what ensures that your thinking and reasoning are fast, sharp, and interference-free. And for countless generations, this system worked perfectly. For a simple reason, this delicate wiring was calibrated to operate in a quiet world. Yes, the human brain spent 200,000 years evolving to deal only with natural frequencies: sunlight, the sound of rain, the warmth of a fire, the Earth's magnetic field. But what we have done to our environment has no precedent in biological history. Let's put real numbers on this. You don't need to be an engineer. Just remember this unit of measurement, microtesla. That's how we measure magnetic radiation. The National Library of Medicine has data confirming that in 1960, the average exposure of a human being was 0.0014 microtesla. So, how much do you imagine it is today? Double? Triple? Let's exaggerate. 10 times more? Recently, we measured the exposure in the apartment of a volunteer in our study in New York, Sarah Mitchell, 58 years old. The meter read 472 microtesla. Do the math. That isn't double. That is 4.7 million times more radiation than the human body was designed to withstand. We aren't just exposed, we are being bombarded. Here enters the phenomenon we call axonal thermal stress. When the neuron receives a load nearly 5 million times greater than it can handle, it cannot dissipate that energy. The result is overload. Imagine trying to power an industrial high-voltage transformer using a tiny cell phone charger wire. The wire heats up so much that the coating melts. This silent frying melts the fat of the myelin. It creates cracks. The wire gets stripped bare. And what happens to a bare wire when it touches another? Short circuit. The information that should travel from A to B simply leaks along the way. This is where it all starts to make sense in your routine. You know, when you get up from the couch, walk to the kitchen, and when you get there, you stop and think, what did I come here to do? That isn't stress or getting old. That is synaptic leakage. The neural circuit that made you get up was working. But to complete the action and remember the goal, your brain needed to access a second circuit. But that second wire had myelin damaged by thermal stress. The electrical signal tried to pass, leaked through the crack, and got lost. You stand frozen in the kitchen because your brain's internet connection dropped in the middle of the download. That is why you lose your train of thought mid-sentence, or forget a date you knew by heart. The file is there in your head, but the road to get to it is full of potholes. Your brain spends triple the energy trying to jump these holes, and eventually, it fails. Dr. Drachman, rest his soul, didn't have the technology to see this in 2014, but today, we do. We replicated the environment of a modern home in the lab. This is the brain of a young, healthy mouse. We placed this mouse in an enclosure exposed to the same radiation levels we have in a common living room with a Wi-Fi router, Bluetooth, and 5G signal. For 20 days, nothing happened. Normal blood pressure, normal blood tests. He ate and ran on the wheel. Physically, he seemed perfect, but silently, thermal stress was cooking his myelin. On the 22nd day, he started failing the maze he knew by heart. He forgot where the food was. He stopped halfway, confused. After 30 days, we did a new scan. Brace yourself, because this image is the portrait of humanity's future if we don't act. Look at the difference in the mouse's brain after just 30 days exposed to continuous electromagnetic radiation 24 hours a day. This isn't natural decline. This is biological proof that the electrical wires of our mind are being melted from the inside out. See what Sarah, a volunteer who participated in the tests, has to say.
I was known for my photographic memory. I could remember the name of every single student who walked through my door in 30 years. Then it started slowly. First, forgetting where I put my keys. Then, names of colleagues. And then, one day, I was teaching, and I completely forgot what I was teaching. I looked at the board, at my students, and my mind was just blank, empty. That was when I finally sought help.
Sarah's scan revealed something devastating. It wasn't just damage, it was a war zone. Those dark patches you see, those are spots where the neurons are literally stripped bare. The neural energy, which should be guarding her memories, is leaking out in real time. We audited her apartment. We counted 17 devices emitting simultaneous electromagnetic signals, routers, extenders, smart assistants, cell phones, all bombarding her brain with millions of invisible pulses per second. It's like living inside a microwave oven running on low power 24 hours a day. Except instead of heating up food, this radiation is melting the fat that protects your neurons. When the radiation data was confirmed, my first reaction wasn't scientific, it was fear, genuine fear for my patients. You see, I treat many of the elite engineers and executives of Silicon Valley. I knew that if Sarah was suffering like this, these men were living at ground zero of exposure. Immediately, I summoned dozens of them for a battery of emergency neuroimaging scans, and what I saw on those monitors kept me up at night. The majority, brilliant men in the prime of their 40s or 50s, presented what we started calling gray brain. Their myelin was paper-thin, worn down, full of structural failures. Their reasoning, which used to be lightning fast, was sluggish. Their memory was failing in critical meetings. They were literally cooking from the inside out without knowing it. But science advances when we find inconsistencies. And in the middle of that disaster, I found two. There were two glaring exceptions, Jeffrey, 59, and Arthur, 61. They weren't just colleagues, they shared the same office at one of the big tech giants. They breathed the same air conditioning and were bombarded by the same insane levels of Wi-Fi and 5G radiation for over 2 decades. By medical logic, their brains should have been destroyed just like the others, but the exams showed the opposite. They were in better condition than patients half their age. The synapses were glowing. The myelin was thick, robust, and intact. These were 30-year-old brains operating in 60-year-old bodies. That was a medical anomaly. I needed to understand why. I isolated the two of them and turned their routine upside down. I was hitting a wall. I found nothing. No magic diet, no special exercise, until I stopped and took a good look at their faces. That's when I noticed something strange, something I had missed. In their profession, spending 12 hours a day deciphering tiny codes on bright screens is standard routine. Blue light destroys the retina over the years. That's why, in Silicon Valley, practically every senior engineer wears thick Coke bottle glasses. But Jeffrey and Arthur didn't. They were the only veterans in that building who could see perfectly without corrective lenses. That was statistically impossible. I asked them what the secret was. It wasn't wellness. It was fear. They were terrified of going blind. Jeffrey told me that decades ago, he read articles about how light damaged the eyes. To protect himself, he started supplementing his diet to shield his retina. When he met Arthur, he convinced him to do the same. In that moment, I felt like an idiot. The answer was staring me in the face the whole time. Most people, including me at that moment, ignore a fascinating anatomical fact. Your eyes aren't just connected to your brain, they are the brain. The retina is made of the same neural tissue as your cortex, and it is the only part of your central nervous system that sits outside the skull. No bone to protect it. So the logic is undeniable. If you ingest something powerful enough to shield the retina against light radiation, by default, you are shielding the entire brain against environmental radiation. I went to investigate what they were taking, and I discovered it wasn't just any blueberry, it was bilberry. And the difference is brutal. This fruit evolved in the frozen hell of the Arctic. There, it faces the midnight sun. That's 24 hours of uninterrupted UV radiation bombarding the plant. Any common fruit would die, scorched. But the bilberry survives. How? By creating nature's most potent biological defense, an absurd concentration of anthocyanins. That's what makes it dark blue, almost black, right down to the core. That color isn't aesthetic, it's armor. In nature, this pigment works exactly like a lead vest against an X-ray. It absorbs the radiation and prevents it from burning the fruit's core. And here is the simple physics that saves your brain. To nature, energy is energy. The solar radiation that burns the fruit and the radiation from your Wi-Fi are the same thing, electromagnetic waves. If this armor blocks the Arctic sun, it blocks the Wi-Fi in your living room. When Jeffrey and Arthur ingested this, those molecules traveled to the neural tissue and deposited themselves around the cells. Basically, they were dressing every neuron in an anti-radiation suit. When the Wi-Fi wave tried to penetrate to heat and melt the myelin, it hit that dark barrier and ricocheted off. The inside of the neuron remained cold, intact, and protected. Those two engineers were accidentally shielding the wires of their brains every day for 20 years. While their colleagues were cooking in invisible radiation, their brains were in the shade. In that moment, I was ready to prescribe bilberry to every single one of my patients, but my enthusiasm was short-lived. Analyzing the data deeper, I realized a grave flaw in my logic. This worked for Arthur and Jeffrey because they started before the damage happened. They had young neurons with thick, resistant myelin. The bilberry just maintained what was already perfect. But for those already suffering from forgetfulness, those who already have the exposed wire, just protecting isn't enough. Bilberry is a shield. It prevents new attacks from happening, but it doesn't fix the hole that's already there. It doesn't plug the leaks where the synapses are escaping. I needed more. I needed something capable of rebuilding the physical structure of the destroyed myelin. It felt like I was back to square one. I knew what to do, fix the myelin, but I didn't know how to get there. My biggest enemy was a biological wall called the blood-brain barrier. You see, nature built a fortress around the human brain to prevent viruses, bacteria, and toxins from invading the most fragile and important part of the body. The problem is that this security guard is too strict. It blocks almost everything, including 98% of the active ingredients in neurological medications. They travel through the blood, hit the barrier, get rejected, and you end up peeing them out. Money flushed down the toilet. I was banging my head against the wall. I needed a higher perspective. So I decided to use my media contacts to get an audience with the only person in the world who could shed some light on this. I'm talking about Dr. Eric Kandel. He won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for discovering how memory is stored in neurons. He is the Einstein of neuroscience. I managed to get a 15-minute video call with him, and what he explained changed everything. When I explained the situation, he reminded me of a basic principle I had ignored. The brain barrier was designed to block water, but it loves fat. Myelin is made of 80% lipids. It's pure fat. He told me,
Peter, stop fighting biology. If you want to get into the brain, you need a fat vehicle. Look for OPCs.
OPCs, oligomeric proanthocyanidins. According to him, this was the only molecule small enough to pass through the filter and strong enough to bind. The answer was staring me in the face. I didn't need a synthetic drug. I needed the most resistant structure in nature. Immediately, I ran to the lab and looked at the only source rich in OPCs and compatible fat, the seed. Think about it. A grape rots in days. The pulp is fragile, made of water. But the seed, it can stay in the soil for years, intact, protecting the plant's DNA against everything. What gives that armored resistance to the seed are precisely the OPCs. When I took this to the test, I discovered that Dr. Kandel was right. OPCs are nature's superglue. They had exactly the two properties I needed. First, they are lipophilic. That's just a fancy way of saying they love fat. This means they cross the blood-brain barrier effortlessly. The brain's security guard recognizes the fat and opens the door, letting the cure in. Second, they are attracted to damage. Once inside, they have a magnetic affinity for exposed collagen. They ignore healthy tissue and go straight to where the structure is broken. Imagine that your damaged myelin is a road full of potholes where your memory trips and falls. OPCs act like high-tech new asphalt. They fill the cracks, harden instantly, and restore the integrity of the wire. They weld back together what was broken. But look, there's a brutal difference between science on paper and real-world results. If you have a perfectly healthy brain, adding some grapes to your diet might move the needle. but to actually rebuild the myelin damaged by synaptic leaking, you'd have to choke down 3 pounds of raw seeds every single day. That's impossible and toxic. I personally tested 24 leading brands of grapeseed extract, and the truth was shocking. Most are just white-label junk from the same factories. They are weak, oxidized, and can't even dent the blood-brain barrier. Sure, the nutrients would hit your bloodstream, but they stayed locked outside your brain, while your memories kept leaking out like water through a sieve. I realized it wasn't enough to just have the seed. I had to strip away the waste and extract only the best, most purest part at the precise clinical potency required to work. I knew the university wouldn't foot the bill for the artisanal, clinical-grade extraction I needed. I knew that asking the big pharmaceutical labs for help would be a dead end. They make their billions selling drugs that just sedate and numb the patient. They have zero interest in actually restoring memory. I actually thought about giving up, but then the image of people like Sarah Mitchell would flash in my mind. I saw her brain literally cooking on those Stanford scans. I couldn't just walk away. I knew I couldn't fight this multi-billion-dollar system alone, so I reached out to the one man with integrity left in the industry, Olivier Beaugillot, president of Sanofi. When I showed him the data, he didn't worry about profits. He saw a lifeline for families suffering through the long goodbye. He made a gutsy call, opening Sanofi's top labs for our final testing. That access allowed us to perfect the secret that separates this from any generic dust on the internet: cold flow extraction. Most manufacturers cook their nutrients to save money, murdering the active compounds. Our process keeps them alive. The concentration was so off the charts that 1 single milliliter of our extract equaled 2.7 pounds of raw seeds. It was, finally, the weapon we needed, not just to protect, but to weld the myelin back together and restore the mental clarity that the modern world has been trying to destroy. In a strictly controlled environment, we fused the grapeseed OPCs with Arctic bilberry anthocyanins. We used deep-tinted bottles to block out oxidation and keep the potency locked in until the very second you use it. The reason is simple. If the extract oxidizes, all that effort is down the drain. With this protection, the formula became rock solid and stable. Now, it has to be a liquid for a very strategic reason. For these active ingredients to act as the instant weld we need, they have to reach your brain pure, intact, and fast. Capsules, powders, and pills are fundamentally broken. Why? Because they have to be digested and filtered by your liver before they ever touch your bloodstream. That process can take up to 60 minutes, and in that hostile journey, your body destroys 83% of the purity we fought so hard to achieve. We needed a delivery method that was foolproof. That's why we developed this ultra-concentrated liquid protocol. Think about it. In a cardiac emergency, when every second counts, doctors don't give you a pill to swallow. They place the medication right under your tongue. Through our Hydronexus technology, the formula bypasses the gut. You place the drops under your tongue for 10 seconds. It enters the carotid artery, the high-speed highway to your brain, resulting in an absorption rate 12 times faster than any pill. It's a neural superglue delivered straight to the target. At that point, I had only one thought. I had to test it, in the real world, with real people. If I was going to go public with this, I needed undeniable, bulletproof proof. So in partnership with the National Institute on Aging and senior researchers from Harvard, we launched the largest independent clinical trial of the decade for cognitive health. Utilizing Sanofi's world-class infrastructure, we tested the formula on 688 volunteers, ranging from 40 to 90 years old. My mission was to test every possible scenario and every level of radiation exposure. I wanted absolute certainty that this concentrated extract would be the definitive solution for any human brain, no matter the damage. For 24 weeks, we kept these 688 volunteers under the most rigid scrutiny in the world. And the results? Well, they changed the history of neurology forever. After just 12 weeks, the scans revealed what mainstream medicine called impossible. Our formula triggered a restoration of clarity in 99.8% of participants. The data was breathtaking. A 93% improvement in neurocognitive markers measured by PET scans, a 98% restoration in neurotransmitter signaling, a 96% immediate halt of the decline. The memory thief was finally caught and handcuffed. An 87% recovery in motor and social functions, things like using silverware with ease and the ability to hold long conversations without stuttering or losing track. We saw a visible restoration of the myelin sheath and a complete end to synaptic leaking. The memory thief simply evaporated, But look, science can be cold. Hard data is one thing, but the real proof is found in the heartbeat of everyday life. Remember Sarah Mitchell, that teacher from New York whose scans showed a brain fried by radiation? Well, take a look at this video she sent me last week.
Dr. Peter, I had to record this because today, something happened I thought I'd never experience again. I woke up, and for the first time in years, the fog was gone. You know that pitying look your kids give you? That awkward silence at the dinner table when you forget what you were saying? That's over. Today, I'm not the problem in the house anymore. It's like someone finally wiped the grime off my window, and I can see life again. Thank you for giving me back to myself.
What you just saw wasn't a miracle. It was applied science. Sarah didn't move houses, she didn't turn off her Wi-Fi, and she didn't stop using her phone. She simply armored her neurons. She stopped being a burden and became once again the pillar of her family. But here is the ugly truth. The system doesn't want you cured. To them, you aren't a patient. You're a $400,000 financial asset. That is the average amount a family drains from their savings just to manage symptoms until the end. I am taking a massive risk sharing this. They've already deplatformed me 4 times. But I refuse to back down. Pay close attention now, because what I'm about to reveal is the exact reason they are trying to scrub this video from the internet. I was ready to launch this protocol, but big pharma giants tried to bury us. They hid behind government red tape, demanding a federal audit to kill our discovery. But we stepped up. The FDA itself monitored 30 advanced patients under strict scrutiny. The result was a total nightmare for the industry. In just 12 weeks, 100% of those participants showed complete cognitive restoration. They regained their independence and their families. Faced with this magnitude of proof, the agency had no choice but to grant us the FDA seal of confirmed efficacy. This isn't a basic safety registration. This is official federal validation that our formula does the impossible. It rewires your mind and breathes life back into those the industry had already written off. We are finally ending the cycle of the long goodbye and the soul-crushing dependency that exhausts entire families. And to ensure that no one can block your access, we created the NeuroLegacy Project. It's a direct-to-consumer program that cuts out the middleman and removes the predatory markups of big pharmacies. It truly moves me to be able to offer this solution at essentially zero profit to you and the thousands of other families who need it most. Because now, we aren't just managing a decline, we're putting out the fire. This light has finally been condensed into a precision formula. The name of this breakthrough is Neurodyne. Neurodyne isn't just a supplement, even though it's technically classified as one. It is a comprehensive neural reconstruction protocol, available over the counter with no side effects and 0 contraindications. According to analysis from the National Institute on Aging and audited data, Neurodyne was put head-to-head against the 6 leading big pharma drugs, and the results were staggering. This liquid formula proved to be 7 to 12 times more effective at treating memory lapses, brain fog, and cognitive decline than the most expensive synthetic meds on the market. This is because while typical drugs only try to mask the symptoms, Neurodyne received the FDA seal of confirmed efficacy for tackling the biological root cause. It shields the brain against axonal thermal stress and physically welds the myelin sheath using our sublingual hydronexus technology. Now pay close attention and don't be fooled. Many products out there claim to be FDA registered or FDA approved. But what does that actually mean? Usually it just means the product is safe to swallow. I mean, even a flour-filled capsule would pass that test. The FDA seal of confirmed efficacy granted to Neurodyne is on a completely different level. It is documentary proof that the formula actually delivers on its promise to reverse cognitive decline. Based on our follow-up with over 4,000 patients, we've found that Neurodyne works for anyone who feels their identity slipping through their fingers. No exceptions, men or women, ages 30 to 95, from those dealing with mild memory lapses to those who have already heard words like Alzheimer's or irreversible and felt them like a death sentence. And it is equally vital for younger people, high-performing professionals who feel a lack of focus, mental burnout, or anyone who has simply decided that their mind will remain theirs today, tomorrow, and forever. When I first shared this formula with some of my colleagues, most of them were skeptical. I get it. They've spent their entire careers believing that cognitive decline was a one-way street with no U-turn. But take a look at this video I received just this week from a dear friend and former mentor of mine, Dr. Eric Kandel, a Nobel Prize winner for his work in uncovering the mechanisms of memory.
I never thought I'd live to see neurons reconstruct themselves like this. To see a 72-year-old woman get back behind the wheel and recognize her children after just weeks on Neurodyne. That's not just science, it's a new chapter for humanity. Without a question, Neurodyne is a revolutionary breakthrough. It's the first product in history I've ever seen actually work to reverse neural damage.
It wasn't just Dr. Candle's scientific endorsement that struck me, it was the awe in his eyes. He was witnessing the impossible, people drowning in forgetfulness finally reclaiming their lives. That is exactly what waits for you. While you sip your morning coffee, the Hydra Nexus technology goes to work. The Arctic anthocyanins and the pure OPCs armor your neurons against radiation and physically weld the cracks in your myelin sheath. The brain fog evaporates, replaced by laser-sharp focus. No more tip-of-the-tongue moments. The fear of forgetting a grandchild's face is replaced by the joy of knowing every detail. Best of all, you'll see the shift in the room. The look of pity in your children's eyes will be replaced by genuine respect. You aren't just surviving anymore, you are back.
My mom had become aggressive. She didn't even recognize my kids anymore. We were seriously looking into moving her into a memory care facility, but thanks to Dr. Attia and Neurodyne, my children can finally spend time with their grandmother again. Something the doctors told us would never happen.
I receive stories like these every single day. In just a few weeks, it'll be your turn to tell me that the blanks are finally gone. Our patients haven't just regained clarity, they're using Neurodyne to maintain a level of focus and deep sleep they haven't felt in decades. But I have to warn you, our inventory is moving fast. Because of the complex cold flow extraction method, new batches take months to produce and retail for $149. But whether it's luck or fate that brought you here today, I'm going to show you how to get a few bottles of Neurodyne completely free. That's right. Zero cost to you. However, I must be straight with you. Neurodyne isn't a symptom masker, it's a neural weld. Stopping the protocol too early is like leaving a construction site half-finished. The decline will simply resume. Look, I have no way of knowing exactly how deep the erosion of your myelin goes right now. That's why we created specific kits to ensure you never break the healing cycle. The minimum to neutralize stress and restore insulation is 12 weeks, 3 bottles. But since I don't know how deep your neural erosion goes, my primary recommendation is the 24-week protocol, 6 bottles. This is the surest path to complete cognitive restoration. Neurodyne is 100% safe, compatible with all medications, and protected by Swiss Myron Violet Glass, a biological vault that keeps the formula alive. The routine is simple. 1 dropper under the tongue, hold for 30 seconds, swallow. Then a 2nd dropper in water. Within minutes, you'll feel the windshield wiper effect. The mental fog dissipates and clarity takes the wheel. I have a duty to make sure your reconstruction isn't cut short. Securing the full treatment today is the greatest act of responsibility you can take for your own mind and for your family's peace of mind. Now, when we first sat down to run the numbers for Neurodyne, the retail price was set at $299 per bottle. And frankly, that's a steal when you consider the real-world cost of doing nothing. Big pharma drugs. You're looking at up to $26,500 a year for medications that, according to leading medical journals, offer modest benefits at best while carrying terrifying risks of brain bleeding. Memory care facilities. These easily skyrocket past $100,000 a year. It's a financial black hole designed to drain every cent of the inheritance you spent your entire life building. Lost income. The hidden cost of a child or spouse being forced to quit their job to become a full-time caregiver, sacrificing their own future and paycheck just to manage your decline. The emotional toll, watching the love in your family's eyes, slowly be replaced by exhaustion, pity, and pre-grieving. You can't put a price tag on that, but you feel it every single day. Compared to those staggering costs, a one-time investment in your independence and dignity is the smartest move you can possibly make. Because of our partnership with the National Institute on Aging and the NeuroLegacy Project, we've been able to secure funding, cut out the middlemen, and deliver this solution directly to you at the lowest cost possible. By streamlining everything, we've managed to set the final price for this batch of Neurodyne at just $98 per bottle. But because you're here today, you won't even pay that. I'm going to show you how to get up to 3 bottles at absolutely no cost to you. Look, consider this a personal gift from me to you. If you've watched this far, it's because you are truly searching for a solution, and I can tell you with total conviction, there is no better solution on the market than Neurodyne. Normally, a 6-bottle kit, which covers the full 180-day protocol, would run you $588, but I wanted to go the extra mile for you. I've decided to personally cover half the cost. However, I can only do this for the first 50 people who claim a 6-bottle kit today. Because of that, I've asked my team to limit this to 1 kit per household. That's right, 3 of your 6 bottles are on me. Now pay attention. A button for the 6-bottle kit is going to appear right below this video. If the price you see is $294, it means you're still among the first 50, and you've made it in time. But if you see $588, it means the promotional kits are already gone. Claim your complete kit below right now, and reclaim your focus and memory once and for all. This price will never be offered again. This is a one-shot opportunity to secure the full treatment at half price. Don't let it slip away. Now, you might just want to sharpen your memory a bit without committing to the full protocol yet. In that case, you can start with the 3-bottle kit, which covers the minimum 90-day recommendation. You'll pay for 2 bottles and get the 3rd one completely free. It's not as bulletproof as the 6-bottle protection, but it's still a powerful option for anyone in the early stages of brain fog or minor forgetfulness. And regardless of which kit you choose, you are protected by a 180-day ironclad guarantee. That means you can go through the full 6-month protocol, and if you don't feel your mind getting sharper and your memory getting crisper, just send an email to the address on the Neurodyne bottle. We will refund 100% of your money immediately, no questions asked. Keep in mind, these special conditions are only being offered today and only while our current limited inventory lasts. Our mission is to end the suffering caused by memory loss, which is why we've stripped away the profit margins and cut out the middlemen, all just to get the best possible price to you, right here, right now. Once these bottles are gone, the buy buttons on this page will be deactivated until we can produce a new batch. And because of the rarity of the Arctic anthocyanins and the complexity of our Hydronexus technology, that takes at least 6 months. To be completely transparent, because our wait list is so long, the next batches will likely be reserved for those who are already in treatment. That's why, to encourage you to make the best decision for your brain today, we've put together something even more special. The first 20 people who secure the 6-bottle Neurodyne package will receive a private, one-on-one online consultation directly with me via Zoom, where we'll discuss your specific case and fine-tune your protocol to maximize your results. A physical copy of my book, Out Live, hand-signed by me and shipped directly to your front door, along with your Neurodyne supply. My Sharp Mind Rituals video masterclass, featuring simple daily exercises designed to reinforce your new neural connections and fast-track your results with Neurodyne. But remember, those bonuses are strictly limited to the first 20 people who secure their 6-bottle package. And I want to be very clear. Your order today is a one-time payment. There are no hidden subscriptions, no auto-ship traps, and absolutely no surprise charges later. We hate those shady tactics as much as you do. Furthermore, as an extra incentive to help you take back control of your mind, whether you choose the 3-bottle or the 6-bottle kit, I'm going to waive the standard $20 shipping fee. That means today only, you get free shipping on your entire order. So, select your Neurodyne kit below. Remember, this original formula is exclusive to this page. You won't find it on Amazon or in pharmacies. I cut out the middlemen to give you direct access without the predatory markups. Here's exactly what you need to do to complete your order safely. Right below this video, you will see the Neurodyne kit options. Once you click your preferred choice, you will be redirected to our 100% secure checkout page. This page is managed by our encrypted payment processor, utilizing the same high-level security standards used by major international banks. Your information is completely protected. To finalize your order, just follow these simple steps. Step 1. Scroll down and enter your full name, phone number, and email. Step 2. Enter the shipping address where you want your Neurodyne kit delivered. Step 3. Enter your payment information. Just click Buy Now, and that's it. Our team here in the United States will immediately prepare your shipment and you'll receive it at your doorstep within 3 to 5 business days. Now we've arrived at the moment of truth. Do you want to solve this problem once and for all? That is why I'm backing your decision with a 180-day ironclad guarantee. You have 6 full months. Yes, 6 full months. 6 months for you to feel Neurodyne working in harmony with your brain, attacking the true cause of forgetfulness, and giving you back the only thing that matters, your identity. Does that sound fair? Look, I know the science behind this formula. I've seen the results. That's why I decided to back this guarantee with my own reputation and resources. If I didn't believe with every fiber of my being that Neurodyne could rewrite your story, I'd be committing financial suicide. But I know what's coming for you. That's why I tell you with total confidence, go for it. The risk is mine. The victory is rightfully yours. Don't just take my word for it. Listen to Robert, a 68-year-old grandfather from Florida.
When the bottles arrived, my grandson looked at me with pity and said, "Grandpa, another magic pill? That just broke me." Out of pure frustration, I asked for a refund the very same day. Less than an hour later, I got an email. "Your refund has been processed. Please keep the product as a gift from us." I was shocked by their confidence, so I decided to give it a real shot. Today, I'm in week 3, and the clarity is unbelievable. I even remembered the plot of a book I read months ago. I'm recording this just to say, I want to pay you back, and I want to buy more, because Neurodyne, it's the real deal.
Robert's story can be your story, but time is your enemy. Every second you hesitate is another second that axonal thermal stress continues its dirty work, corroding your memories. You've been kept in the dark by a system that profits from your condition, but never from your cure. They told you that decline is normal. That is a convenient lie for them, and a prison sentence for you. Some people get used to the cell. With all due respect, if that's you, then this isn't your time. But if you're ready to kick the door down and reclaim your mind, the choice has already been made. Thousands of people are already on the other side, on the path to freedom. The question is, will you join them, or will you stay behind in the darkness? Because if you let this page slip away, you already know the script that's waiting for you. It's the panic of forgetting a grandchild's face. It's your independence being stolen day after day until the final heartbreaking decision, the nursing home, the social death that arrives long before the physical one. Or there is this path, the path that begins with a yes at this very second. Imagine waking up and feeling clarity, a mind that is light, sharp, and present. Imagine yourself at the next family dinner, not just sitting there, but leading the conversation, telling a story from your youth with details that shock everyone, watching pride replace pity in your children's eyes. Imagine the surprise on your doctor's face when he sees your cognitive tests improving after he told you it was impossible. Imagine grabbing your car keys and saying, "I'm driving today." The freedom, the dignity, your life, back in your hands. These two futures are real. They already exist. And the one thing that decides which one becomes your reality is the click you make or don't make right this second. Your Neurodyne kit is right here, reserved, waiting for you. What you're deciding on today isn't just a purchase, it's a rescue mission, a rescue of your identity, your dignity, your place in this world. Choose the 6-bottle kit right now, right below this video. It's a one-time, secure, and risk-free payment. Your freedom is just one click away. Not tomorrow, not later. It's now. Click the button below and take the most important step of your life. I'll be right here, waiting to celebrate your victory with you. And congratulations on choosing a brand new life.